We all know what RPG Maker is. I'm sure you've heard of some of the games made in it too. There's Lisa the Painful, Yume Nikki, several Pokemon fan games, and an endless supply of, let's call them, hidden gems. Some of those games are pretty old, but what's the oldest RPG Maker game? To figure that out, first we need to find the oldest version of RPG Maker and see if any of the games made with it are preserved online. You might be aware of some of the older RPG Makers from 2000 and 2003, but there's older Japanese versions that go back as far as 1992. This is RPG Sukuru Dante 98. Yeah, it came out in 92, but it has 98 in the title. That's because it was made for the PC 98 computer. Technically there is a few older versions of RPG Maker, and they come with some sample games, but I'm looking for games made by amateurs. The oldest user-created games I could find were made with RPG Maker 98. Yeah, believe it or not, games made with the RPG Maker from 1992 can still be found online. There was a contest held by the ASCII Corporation back in 1995 to see who can make the best game. They received over 3,000 entries, so it was a pretty big competition. What you're looking at here is the list of games that won, and some of them even have working download links. From what I could find, these are the oldest indie games made with RPG Maker. There's no way to tell which one was submitted first, so today we'll just be looking at the winner of the contest. In first place we have Cock-a-doodle-doo. It was made by a 17-year-old named Byakuya Nakanishi, and he won 10 million yen for his effort. Whoa. Well, he did beat over 3,000 people, so I'd say he earned it. The download link here actually gives you a remake of Cock-a-doodle-doo made for the PC 98. The winner of the contest didn't actually make their game with RPG Maker 98. They made it with the RPG Maker on the Super Nintendo. Luckily for us, the original SNES version of the game still exists. So the reason that we're lucky is that there were actual Satellaview broadcasts specifically designed for RPG Maker games. And yes, a handful of them have been dumped and saved online, including Cock-a-doodle-doo. Both versions of the game are entirely in Japanese, but I'll show translations on screen for important parts, and I'll even read it out for people that are just listening. Alright, we're all good to go. Let's talk about one of the oldest RPG Maker games ever made. The game opens up with the scene showing one of the main characters, Nicole, drinking and partying at a bar. By the way, Nicole's a dude, even though he has a girl name. The party is suddenly broken up by some bad news. It turns out Nicole's father went into debt, and he ran away. When Nicole goes home, he finds the last things his father left for him. A couple of notes, and a chicken. The first note tells Nicole that he can take this chicken and try to make some money with it. Another note says there's a cockfighting tournament with a big prize for the winner. Alright, cool. So we have a plan now. Go level up and win the tournament to make some money. Nicole names the chicken Pal, and they head off to the Cave of Fire to get stronger. Well, actually Nicole has to go to his part-time job. I don't know if he's actually supposed to have a job, or if he's lying and just going to the bar to go drink. Anytime he leaves the group for his part-time job, you'll find him at the bar drinking, so... Well, we don't need Nicole anyway. You can talk to people in town and get some different dialogue depending on whether Nicole's with you or not, which is a cool little detail. We can keep going around town and talking to people, but what we really need to do is talk to the owner of the Chinese restaurant. He sees Pal and says,
"I found some food."
Then he takes Pal away to a basement where he can butcher him later. Well, at least it can't get any worse for us. Oh, there's a cat here too. And he's hungry. Now we have some combat. It's just your standard Dragon Quest style combat though. This first fight is pretty easy, and in general, most of the game's combat is pretty easy. Once you beat up the cat, he apologizes and gives you his name. Death. His personality changes here and becomes kind of a comic relief sidekick to Pal. Now that we've taken care of that, we need to find a way to escape. There's a window, but only Death can reach it. Pal tells him to go get his owner, Nicole, and bring him back here. There's a short section here where you walk back to town with Death. You can go find Nicole at his usual spot. After some waiting, Pal starts to panic. The cat's taken a long time. Did he just run away? All the commotion causes somebody to come check on us, and you have to fight him. He looks odd. One thing about this game that may not be obvious is that it only uses default assets. It doesn't really matter to us since we don't use these old versions of RPG Maker, but the Japanese people who were familiar with this stuff back then definitely would have noticed. There's a few more fights, a treasure or two, and a bed you can heal up in for free. Eventually you'll find a key and leave the basement, but the owner of the restaurant finds you and you have to fight him. It's another easy fight, and the restaurant owner has a dramatic speech as he dies. Pal tells him to shut up and hits him again. The owner loses consciousness, and Pal drops a sick one-liner. Only the strong shall survive. Now you can just leave and, well, look who it is. Death came through after all. He stole Nicole's wallet and led him here. Nicole sees that Pal is all beat up and brings him home to rest. I gotta say, so far, yeah, it's a simple game, but it's strangely appealing. The novelty of playing a game starring a chicken is part of it, for sure, but also, it's cool to play a game that barely anyone else has. It's only in Japanese, and there's very little coverage for it online. I'm enjoying the process of figuring it out. Now that we're all healed up, we can go train at the cave that Nicole mentioned earlier. But as soon as you get there, he leaves to go back to his job. Well, Pal and Death can make it through the cave just fine without him. There's more default asset enemies here and this ghost. His name is Raka, and he guides you through the dungeon. It ends up being pretty simple though. There's a maze section and this optional fight that's really hard, but other than that, pretty much a straight shot. At the end, you find this room full of light. Raka asks you to shove this stone into the pit, which frees a genie named Genie. She has the power to grant 3 wishes. Pal, being the leader of the group, gets to make the first wish, a stomach full of earthworms. Death is understandably not too happy about this. But you know what happens when you make a wish with a genie. The worms end up being a giant worm boss fight. After the fight, Genie explains that it's against the rules to grant selfish wishes. Suddenly, a zombie appears. He was the one who trapped Genie to begin with. He asked her for eternal life, so she turned him into a zombie. As payback, he trapped her and created Raka to guard the cave for him. It turns out, Raka will die if the wizard dies, but he decided to sacrifice his life anyway to free Genie. The wizard's about to attack, but then suddenly, Pal makes his last 2 wishes. First, let Raka reincarnate as whatever he wants, and second, blow this cave up with all the zombies still in it. One thing I want to point out here is the dynamic between Pal and Nicole compared to Raka and the wizard. Nicole isn't always the best owner, but he does have good intentions, and he has helped out Pal, at least a little bit. The wizard just created a slave and threatened to kill him when he stopped being useful. Look, this game's story isn't deep, but this is the game that won the contest, so I think it's worth taking seriously to an extent. I do think these different relationships exist for a reason. These aren't the only master and pet kind of relationships you see in the game. So, after the cave blows up, Pal, Death, and Genie wake up in a field. Genie decides to tag along with the others for now, and Pal wonders what Raka wished to be reborn as. Genie is a very valuable addition to the party. She's the only character who knows any spells, and one of them heals the whole group. If you ever get stuck on a hard boss, just spam the multi-heal with Genie every turn, and you'll probably be okay. So what do we do now? There's a few things we can do from here. If we go back to the bar, we'll find the horse that was in the basement of the Chinese restaurant. Apparently a town for animals has been established somewhere at some ruins. But he asks us not to tell any humans about it. We'll just leave Nicole here for now. There's also this new tree outside next to the mountain. Oh, it's Raka. He chose to be reborn as a tree. That's nice. You can use the tree to save and heal up. There's a cave here that leads to the desert, and there's also some random encounters. They give good experience, and there's a free bed nearby, so this ends up being a pretty good place to grind. Also, in the desert, we find the ruins that the horse was talking about. We can go to the animal village and buy some equipment for everybody. Nice. We should be strong enough for the rest of the game. There's also a chicken here that gives you a Suru item, but I don't know what it's for. There's nothing left to do, so we can just go back to Nicole now. It turns out that Nicole's renting out his house to make some money, but he doesn't seem too happy about it. Now his sister has to live with this obnoxious tenant. The next thing we have to do is go north to the bridge. We need Nicole to get across because we have to talk to the guard here and pay a toll. On the second island, a few things open up to us. There's a cave and a little town. The town has some shops and this guy with the chicken that creeps out Pal. This must be where the cockfighting is. The tournament isn't open yet, so we'll just go to the cave and see what's going on there. This is the Cave of Enlightenment. If you try to go past the statue, you just get kicked out. You have to go in and try again. Nicole will explain that he's trying to help his sister. The statue sympathizes with him and lets you all through. This dungeon reminds me of the Silphco Tower from Pokemon with all these warp tiles. Once you get to the end of the maze, you find Pasta and Lasagna. They were the ones partying with Nicole in the beginning. Lasagna runs away, but Nicole manages to coerce Pasta into teaching Pal some powerful magic. This should help him win the tournament. The animals all get locked up for the night, and the plan is to teach Pal a powerful spell tomorrow. Of course, the animals don't know what's going on. They get anxious and decide to break out. Nicole regrets his decision, thinking, I just wanted to help out Pal, but maybe this isn't the right way. On your way out, you'll have to beat the statue that guards the entrance. Again, it's another easy fight. Attack, use the multi-heal, repeat for a few turns, and you're good to go. You can get back to the first town again and find Nicole at the entrance. He apologizes to Pal and gives him a ring that was paid for with his rent money. We can go enter the tournament now, so let's go back to the second town and get this show on the road. Nicole talks to Pal for a bit, and then they get separated. Pal is locked in a cage before the tournament again, and thinks about how this keeps happening to him. He decides not to run away and trust Nicole this time. He remembers all the times where Nicole showed that he cares about him. Then the gate opens up, and Pal finds himself in a big arena. Turns out, he's here to fight another chicken. Pal thinks to himself, maybe I should have run away after all. Remember that weird chicken we saw earlier? That's the one we're fighting. And it turned into a dragon. Our party members see this and jump down to help Pal. Even Nicole jumps down. Alright, this is the final boss. The same strategy we use for every other boss works here too. Attack and heal. Pretty simple. I appreciate that though. If the combat was more complicated, it would be way harder for me since I can't read Japanese. Alright, that wasn't too bad. The owner of the dragon was Lasagna. She gives a lame excuse for her actions and runs away. Nicole gets the prize money and celebrates with the other humans. It's a happy ending, right? Pal remarks on how horrible humans are, and has a little banter with Genie and Death. For as much as he dislikes humans, he sure is mean to his sidekicks. That's it. That's the end. It was a fun little game with a creative scenario. I liked it. It only took a couple hours to beat, and I was also typing up notes and making sure I recorded everything. So it's a short game, even if you have to use Google Lens to read everything. Actually finding the game was half the fun, and playing through a game that's in a foreign language also added to the experience. Sure, being in English would be more convenient, but slowly translating everything made it more cool and mysterious. Maybe one day every retro game will have an English translation and this won't be necessary anymore. Putting in the effort felt like it was worth it because I felt like I was doing something that nobody else has done. And knowing that the game was only a couple hours long really helped. I wouldn't have done this for a long game with a deeper, complicated story. So, would I recommend Cock-a-doodle-doo? Yes, if you don't mind using Google Lens to read everything. There's probably about 1,000 other RPGs I'd recommend before this one. But if you specifically want to play the oldest RPG Maker games, this is the first one I would suggest, since it's so short and easy. The whole experience of going down the rabbit hole, finding that 30-year-old contest with working download links, and figuring out how to make the games work was pretty fun too. So even though the game itself isn't all that special, everything around it made it more cool and I ended up enjoying it more. There's a few more Satellaview RPG Maker games out there too, and the rest of those competition winners. On top of that, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of RPG Maker 2000 and 2003 games. A lot of these are creative and pretty good. A lot are also bad, but in funny and interesting ways. In any case, the vast majority of these have little to no documentation online. If you feel like trying something new and going where few others have gone, give one of those old RPG Maker games a try. Some of them have a lot of effort put into them. You might end up finding something really cool.